Welcome to Base Camp Wisdom, a podcast with people who've weathered the storms, traveled the hard miles, and made it to the other side. In this podcast, we're going to explore life lessons, valuable insights, proven tools and experiences that will help guide you on your own leadership journey. So grab your cup of coffee, sit back and listen to some seasoned Sherpas who've not just weathered the storms, but they've made it to the other side. Welcome to Base Camp Wisdom. Hey, Todd, Vinson here for our second episode of Base Camp Wisdom. I'm here with my friend Nathan Schrock, and I just wanted to get some time together. I saw you had a coffee thermos there. Is that water, or are you drinking coffee?
It's actually water this morning. Yeah, I've already reached my caffeine limit for the day. Otherwise, I get too worked up.
Well, man, what were you drinking this morning? What coffee? What origin?
Actually, this morning I was drinking Doze, which is a mushroom coffee.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, my wife and I have really gotten into that lately. It provides the adaptogens, really provides some brain clarity, and I feel like it makes me more efficient throughout the day. So quite often now I'm having mushroom coffee in the morning.
Okay. Well, man, you and I, it's a fun connection. It was our kids that connected us in Kona, and we figured out that we liked the same coffee spots and restaurants, and we kept bumping into each other on the island the entire time. Right. I'm drinking a little bit of Bioways Anthem coffee in Kansas City sourced this for us, and it's from Huehue Tenango in Guatemala, and I just like saying Huehue Tenango.
How can you not? Yeah, and I'll tell you, when you're talking coffee shops in Kona, it's like an embarrassment of riches. I mean, there's so many good choices. My wife and I were just there a couple weeks ago, and we went to we went to Heiko.
Right. Which one?
The one in town.
Okay.
And then we also went to Kona Joe's Coffee Farm.
Right.
We went to Kaya's. We went to there's another really good, the one we met you at, that also has great food. I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. It's right by Heiko. Anyway. Okay. Yeah. There's so many of them. There's so many of them. I can't keep up with it.
Did you have a favorite while you were there?
Gosh, when we went to Kona Joe's, we did a Chemex there of their pea berry, and it was just incredible. I mean,
creamy smooth.
Oh, so good. Yeah,
I liked going to Kona Coffee Leaf and Tea there in town, and then also when we got to go up to Waimea Coffee.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Was amazing.
Yes.
Well, we met because of our kids, but man, share a little bit just about, your backstory, and you do coaching and business consulting as well. But I'd love to hear a little bit of your story and your little background. I know you're in sports and your family loves soccer.
Yeah.
Give me some of the backstory.
Yeah. Well, I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is where I grew up. My dad is from here. I was born in Dallas, Texas, while he was attending Dallas Theological Seminary.
Did not know that.
Then we moved back here when I was 3 years old. So Sioux Falls is home.
Okay.
And went away to Wheaton College in Chicago. And when I moved back, I started working in politics. And, it's a great place to cut your teeth because people assume you're lying until you prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
From there, went on to work in university, advertising, corporate communications, and then here about 7 years ago, co-founded 5-4. And 5-4 is a company that helps growing businesses work out their people, processes, and purpose.
Okay, what's the meaning behind the 5-4?
So 5-4 is named after an ancient Roman festival called the Quinquatris. It was held every March. It heralded the beginning of a new year. And what it was is a 5-day festival. It was 1 day of feasting followed by 4 days of gladiator battle. So what we are is the 1 day that gets you prepared to do battle in the business arena.
Oh, wow. That's good. I just watched Gladiator 2 the other night by myself while my girls were gone. Said, yeah, do that on your own.
There you go. Yeah. We have a belief that businesses don't grow, people grow. And then people grow the business, right? So the best thing that business leaders can do is first invest in their growth, right? Because if they don't see you go first, nobody else is going to do it. then invest in the growth of your team, and your business can't help.
You use the gladiator metaphor and being in some of those arenas and different industries. Were there any battles that you fought there that just about got the best of you, that you learned something through that journey that, man, you wish you'd have learned it early on?
Boy, I would say if I had to go back, right, and say, man, there's something I wish I'd learned or done earlier, I would say it was bet on yourself earlier. Right. I took a series of jobs until I co-founded this company, and all of them were incredibly entrepreneurial, right? It was like,
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, it was like starting up this arm of a business, or, completely transforming this function at this business, or taking on a turnaround of a startup. But it was always for somebody else, right? And what I really wish I had somebody tell me earlier is bet on yourself first, right? That's the bet that will always pay off. Invest in yourself, bet on yourself. Looking back, that's what I wish I had done earlier in my life.
What was the one that you did do that? Which one of those projects was it? Was it 5-4 that you started betting on yourself?
Yeah. Yep. There were, like I said, if I go back, almost every job that I did was incredibly entrepreneurial within the company. So like an entrepreneur, creating something new, transforming something, turning something around. But it wasn't until 5-4 that I co-founded with my business partner that it was like, okay, now it's just me. I'm like, we're going all in on ourselves. And it's something I definitely wish I had done sooner.
So how long has 5-4 been around now then?
We started in January of 2018.
Okay.
So, we've passed the infamous 5-year mark, and there were times where it was tough, right? Like when
you're in startup mode, you do a little bit of everything.
That's right. Doing a lot and hoping that there'll be enough money left to get paid this month.
Right. You get paid last.
Yep. But, we're on the other side of that now, thankfully, and having a really good time.
Do you enjoy the startup piece of that, or do you like finally getting the systems and the people in place, and then have it humming? It's like a flywheel. You got it moving, and you've got momentum.
Yeah, it's a great question. With us, there was really a couple of pivots, right? Where what we thought we were going to do didn't end up being what we were doing really very closely at all. So startup's hard. I mean, it's hard work. It's fun and exciting work because you're painting with a big blank canvas, right? But in some ways, I've been in a couple of startups now, and when you're really focused on survival, all the other stuff gets a lot tougher. That sucks up so much of your brain power. And that's also why, if you look at our business now, we don't really work with startups, because the work that we do of developing people, to be around for the long haul and thinking strategically long term, it can be hard to do when you're worried about making payroll next week. And so I would probably, even though I enjoy both, I'd probably have to say I like it a little more once it's like, okay, we're on the other side of this. We've crossed the chasm. Now, how do we form a business that is going to last?
Okay, so use the Sherpa metaphor. You've gotten to base camp. You've made it to camp 1. So now it's camp 2, camp 3. How do we put those systems and people and processes in place so they can be successful, and also not just, I guess, move to a success mindset and growth mindset, not just survival mode.
Yeah. Yes, and because we've worked with so many businesses that are in that, we kind of know what they're facing now, right? Yeah. In the famous words of Marshall Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there. Right. So it's time to really look and see, what is that next plateau? What's that next growth curve? And how do we do the things that are going to get us on it? And again, it all comes back to people, process, and purpose. Those are the things that we really help companies lean into, so that growth can continue without all the growing pains that will come if they don't figure that out.
Right. You've still got to climb the mountain. I'm looking at, looks like maybe the Grand Canyon behind you there.
It's actually the Badlands of South Dakota.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Badlands. Yeah. I insulted you. We got Badlands,
that's all right.
Not Grand Canyon.
Hey,
that's South Dakota.
we'll take Grand Canyon, right? That's
It
we
looks
love that.
pretty grand. Looks pretty grand to me.
Yeah. It's
But
a
as you talked about those three things. I mean, how did you navigate through that in your own life with people, purpose, and process?
That's a great question, right? So,
That wasn't on my list of questions I gave you.
it's okay.
That was
No,
free.
the thread that I look back on now, Todd, and what I look back on all of these sort of entrepreneurial jobs that I had,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was first figuring out what's the process that's going to achieve the result. So we start looking at that, and how do we grow the people to be able to do that? But it took me a while to realize that the first step in the whole thing is purpose. Right? Why are we doing this? What's important? What's the difference we're trying to make in the world? And for me, I've sort of distilled that back into my life in three words: love, learn, and lead. I'm at my best if I'm doing one or more of those three things. And so that's my
good.
purpose as I interact with people, is to love, learn, and lead.
Well, and I've seen you do that. I mean, I haven't necessarily seen you in a business setting, but I've seen you in a family setting and watch you do that well. And when you do own your own business, just because you're in Kona doesn't mean there's not work to do.
That's right.
And finding you doing that really well, having the balance. I'm going to go hop on this call and pour into someone for a minute, but it seems like I see some balance in you. Tell me how that came about. Have you always been wired that way, or was there a pain point that forced you to make some changes?
I think that in a way I've maybe always been wired that way. My grandpa was an entrepreneur, and he's really someone I take a lot of inspiration from.
Okay.
And he has really, one of the lessons that he and my dad kind of distilled for me early in life is that when my grandpa was running those businesses early on, he wasn't around much, right? And so consequently, my dad didn't see his dad a lot growing up. But in order, almost like without being spoken, in order to make up for that, my grandpa spent a ton of time with me growing up. Right. Once those businesses that were in the rear view mirror, and it was just a really blessed aspect of my life, is that I got to spend a lot of time with my grandpa. And part of it was, my grandpa wasn't the type to sit down and say, okay, here's the lesson. It was just, he was a living lesson.
Lived it.
Right. Yep. Of this is how, after coming through all of that, now what's important to me is family. Right. So like when I go to Kona, when we went to Hawaii this last time, it's a 4-hour time difference. Right. So what I would do is get up and start work at about 5 a.m. that time, which is 9 a.m. our time, work till noon there, which is 4 p.m. our time. And then I got the rest of the day to go enjoy Hawaii. Right.
And be with your family. And it sounds like some of those lessons you learned from your grandfather were redemptive.
For sure.
Well, and it's fun because we've tagged along the country together. Then our two daughters went to Montana and did a 9-month training and got to do those same things there. As you talked about some of your businesses, it seemed like a lot of times you were there to help grow someone else's business. Was there any pain points when you were having to? It wasn't your vision and maybe your purpose, it was someone else's. Was there things that you liked or you didn't like when it's someone else, that you're being maybe the behind the scenes guy and being supportive and set them up for a win? Or was it more painful because maybe you didn't have the alignment and the whole time, man, if this was my gig, I would do this or do that? What were the lessons you learned as you worked for someone else?
Sure. I think probably the lesson is that somewhere along the line, I've got a mild case of adult ADD, right? Is like, and the ability to go into a business and spend some time and really kind of instigate things and shake things up and help them launch off on a good path, and then jump over to a completely different kind of business, right? And go from food service to construction to financial services and be able to work in all these different arenas, I just find incredibly fulfilling. To take some of those same principles of people development, process creation, and purpose alignment, and just really pour into those in different settings. I just have fun, right? And like many business owners who you say that, the cobbler's kids have no shoes, is it's easy to get distracted from that, right? And just be all in on those opportunities. But man, that's what fills me up. I love, going into that new thing and learning more about what are the things that are going to help this business lean into that original reason for their existence and develop the people that are going to continue that growth. That's what lights me up.
Well, there's a principle called 70-30, and it says that you should be spending 70% of your time on things that are your natural abilities. They're life-giving. You do them just second nature. And if you do that, you've got the 30% that you've got the capacity to just do the other things that come along with the territory. How did you find yourself able to navigate that? One, when you're working for someone else, and then two, when you find yourself on your own project, on your own business.
Yeah,
any difference in that percentage of how you balance your time and your focus?
It's a great question, and I'm probably out of whack on that, right? Because once I've found sort of our methodology, right, of the way I approach a business, for the most part, even though every business has its own little differences, the methodology that we use is like, okay, lift and insert, right? So in some ways, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I'm constantly trying to spend the time, and trying is not a great word, right? Like I'm very intentional about at least setting aside a few minutes to say, okay, we went through that process again. Does it still work? Is it still the most effective way to do this? Are there ways we can improve it? Are there lessons that I learned along the way that are saying, okay, there maybe need to be some shifts and tweaks here? So that's probably where I spend most of the time on the business, is like, that sort of after action review of coming through an event and looking back and say, does that still work the way that it did 6 months, 9 months, 18 months ago?
Right. Just almost running an autopsy on your processes. Do they do the things that we want them to do? So man, when your systems and your processes serve your people instead of the other way around, man, it's a lot more effective.
And then every once in a while too, because I read a ton, is I'll come across something that's like, duh, right? Like, that makes so much sense. And all right, where do I insert that into the process here?
Well, that's even conversations you and I've had the last couple of weeks from the book 10X is easier than 2X. What do I need to let go of and really hone my focus so I can see some exponential growth that's exponential, not addition. I'm really good at addition. I'm really good at just working twice as hard, and it only just yields 2X, which really isn't much growth, and it burns you out in the process. And I had become really good at doing that in several different industries and was shocked that I got the same results.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that book about a year and a half ago really rocked me, right? Because it made me realize that way more of my time was being spent on 2X than 10X than I would like to admit.
And it sounds really cliche, but I love the concept on, and is it the same book on crystallized intelligence and fluid intelligence?
Yeah.
We're both at a season in life that we've got some crystallized intelligence that, man, we've got some things to offer and bring to people that can almost feels like a rocket booster, and you get off the one curve and you move on up to the next.
Yeah.
And you do get to see some exponential growth with the people that you work with.
Yeah, you got it.
Looking back, has there been one pain point that, man, if I could sit here and talk to a guy in his 30s or maybe 40s that, man, if you will give some attention to this, it will be one of those little nuggets that are exponential, that will be some jet fuel, like our good cup of coffee we've been talking about here, some things that will help them if they've got that tool and that awareness. Just from your own experience.
Yeah. Let me,
you're talking to your 20 or 30-year-old you.
Yeah, I think, my dad gave me a good piece of advice that I wish I had listened to a little more closely, and said, early on in your working career, just try some stuff, right? See what fits, see what you like, see what lights you up, see what you're good at. I read this book from my friend Davin Salvagno here a little bit ago, Finding Purpose at Work. And what he said is, try stuff that you're good at and then see who it benefits, right? Make sure you're benefiting someone from it, right? And because that's where we find purpose, is in service to others.
Yeah. I think about outflow when I hear you say that. It can't all just be flowing in. It's got to be flowing out and have an impact. So
yeah,
man, that's good.
So I wish early on I tried just a few more things. And like I said, really, really bet on myself. I mean, there's loads of other lessons, but that's the biggest one.
Oh, with saying that, looking forward, I know you're a forward thinking guy. I mean, you're looking at processes to move people and strategy, but what's that thing out there right now? That next thing, you know what? I need to do a little bit of that. I need to bet on myself and take a risk. And maybe, is there a new trail or a new venture or something that has got your attention?
Boy, that's also a great question, right? I'm always wondering like what is next? And in the spirit of 10X versus X is now figuring out how to essentially clone myself in the delivery part of our business, right? Because without that, it'll just to be continuing to trade time for money. Now, right. I hired here not too long ago an executive assistant, virtual. She's in Guatemala, but has been doing this for U.S.-based executives for a decade. And that's been great, right? To just continue to be able to focus my time on the things that have the highest return. So a lot of it is about, being more intentional with my time and then figuring out where are the areas that my contribution makes the biggest difference.
Right. I know I love scalable.
Yeah. And I love spending time with business owners and business leaders. So the more I get out and do that, the more effective I can be in my role.
And is there a specific industry that you like working with, or is it more that, that solopreneur or that business owner, and just being able to make sure that he walks through those, the purpose, the processes, any industry that you love more than others?
If you look at where a lot of my work lately has been in, it's been in construction services and financial services.
Okay.
But, also done quite a bit in business services like IT, bookkeeping, accounting, all those kinds of things. So the kind of common denominator is service companies. Now, I do some of the others as well, but that's where those service companies, 50 to about 250 employees, those are my real sweet spot. Those are the ones. Sweet spot. Yeah, it's where, all right, I can kind of tell you what you're facing and I know what's coming up. So let's figure out how to get through that with fewer growing pains. It's hard to really market what it is that I do, but it's interesting. If I sit down with a business owner who needs what we provide, after about 10 to 15 minutes, it's just like, I had no idea anyone did that. Where can I sign up?
You've got a roadmap, you've got some experience. And I had a conversation with a guy today. He said, man, there's people that are doing this and they're lonely. They need some folks that have got some experience and they need someone to come alongside with them on that journey. So I'll put this in the show notes, but how can someone get a hold of you if that's something they're going, oh, that's exactly what I need as I listen to this podcast? How do they get in touch with you?
Probably the best place would be one of two things. First, just go to nathanschock.com.
Okay.
nathanschock.com, or just go search for me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active, and it's easy for me to respond there. Either place, you're going to find me.
Okay, well, I'll put both of those on the show notes here. Last question, and my most important question today is, tell me your favorite coffee shop, once you get there, and why.
You're going to make me pick, huh? Okay.
Yeah, anywhere. Yep. That's asking like, which one's your favorite daughter? I'm not asking you that. Just give me your favorite. Well, as of right now on Friday, February 7th.
Okay. So
you can change your answer tomorrow.
There's so many, but let me tell you, my absolute favorite is Coffea in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay. And why?
Here's why. First of all, my daughter is a barista there.
Okay.
Right? So when Sydney is not in Montana or Kona or India or Papua New Guinea, she's pulling shots in in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But there's another reason.
Okay.
So this coffee shop, first of all, the roasting, the beans that they get are fantastic, right? Sourced from individual farmers, and they are true coffee connoisseurs, right? And
do they roast there, or is someone
Yeah.
else roasting for them?
they roast there.
Roast in-house.
And they have 3 locations. This is not the one that they roast at, but they roast their own. But this coffee shop is in the lobby of a bank.
Okay.
And what I find so cool about that is I work with a lot of financial services, and what we try to figure out is a financial service company today is not going to stand out on rates or products or services. Everybody provides the same thing, right? So the way they stand out is the experience that they give to their customers. And where would you rather go? A bank or a coffee shop?
Absolutely.
Right? You have
Absolutely.
more and more people going to a coffee shop, and fewer people ever going into a bank branch.
Yeah. That's how Lloyd's of London got started. It was a coffee house. And so good things happen over a cup of coffee. So I want to get the link for that cafe in Sioux Falls. I'll put it on the show notes here too. And last question is, what do you order when you get there? Do you just get a drip? You get Americano? Is there a signature drink that they have?
I'm a drip coffee guy, black, just because I want to taste the beans, right? I don't want to. Yeah. I don't need all it. I don't need all the flavors. I don't need the creams. Just give me the coffee.
Let it speak for itself.
That's right. Because if it can't stand on its own, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and I can say that about you just in my relationship with you as a friend. I see you live that way and lead that way in all your relationships. And that does stand out, and it does make it attractive. So I want to thank you today just for a chance to get on here and, talk coffee, talk about our passion and how we can encourage other guys that are on the same journey. Oh yeah, I'm not the only one going through this. And there are some seasoned guys that would love to come alongside you and help you be successful and enjoy it along the way.
And I'm thankful that our daughters brought us together, because this
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a bonus for us that we had no idea. So, well, man, have a good weekend. I know day's half over, and hopefully there's some good family time shifting into a lower gear, and hopefully there's some good coffee in there somewhere as well. So, thank you, Nathan.
All right. Yeah, thanks. This has been fun, Todd. Yep.